So, content. What's up, everybody? Yeah, I figured it's probably about time I got back on the content train. Obviously, this YouTube channel hasn't really been that populous with videos over the last sort of year or so, so I thought I might as well start putting in some effort now I have a little bit more time. And what I wanted to do first up was ask my Twitch subs to submit questions, a Q&A. They wanted to know anything about me or about the job, you know, anything like that. They could ask it. Ideally, I'd answer it. And I came across one question and I very quickly realized as I tried to answer it quickly that it might actually take a whole video. That question was, what was your life like before esports? So I'll try not to bore you with the details, but I'll try and give you a little bit of an idea of how I sort of got here in this position as an esports commentator and sort of the twists and turns that life took to get me there. So strap yourselves in, let's do this. Okay, so I was born in 1991. Yeah, I'm 30 plus now. Good times. My father was a Australian football player, professional sportsman, and my mother was an insurance broker. Now, back then in Australia, I don't think Australian football paid very much, so we were pretty comfortably middle class while my dad was traveling a fair bit to play his football game. My brother's born 11 months later than me. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure New Year's Eve was involved at some point, but we're great friends, probably as a result of how close in age we were growing up. I don't have a ton of early memories. I remember little bits and pieces here and there, but honestly, up until age 5, like it's a bit of a blur. I don't know. I probably pooped a lot. So we moved from the Gold Coast, where I was born on the east coast of Australia, about an hour north to Brisbane, the capital city, when I was about 3 or 4. And that's where I started going to kindergarten and then school. My parents were obviously still working through that time. I'm going to this really strict Catholic all-boys school where you've got to pull your socks up to your knees, otherwise you get detention. I literally had to wear these elastics in my socks so they didn't fall down. I was so strict. Anyway, mum got a job offer across the country in this small town called Port Lincoln, this country town of 16,000 people. And it looked like we were going, you know, it was a huge opportunity for her and something she really wanted to do. So up we went, picked up and moved across the country. There was one slight snag with that, and that was that my dad decided not to come with us for whatever reason. He sort of was quite happy staying where he was. So my parents unfortunately did split. So like we get to this strange small town, this country town. We're kind of city kids, so it's a lot to adjust to. And I'll be honest, we slept in the same room, like me, my brother, mum, for months. You know, obviously dealing with like the parents separating and then also trying to deal with being in a new place was pretty challenging. Again, sent off to Catholic school, mum still believing in doing the right thing, even though I'm pretty sure whatever face she may have had was kind of shaken by that point. Tough for mum. I mean, she's being a single mum and she's still working full time. So we'd go to school and then we'd walk all the way to her work afterwards. We sit in her break room until 6 p.m. and we'd fight and carry on because we're 11 months apart and mum's in the office like losing her mind, just trying to find a way to make it all work. But it worked. I was not popular in school. It was a country school. So like sort of a very bookish, nerdy kid like me I never had a chance. I mean, these are all very sporty kids that love camping, fishing. I don't know how to do any of that. I wasn't particularly coordinated. I wasn't great at sports. So I was immediately on the wrong side of that fence. But you know, I had a small group of friends and I eventually got into some sports and I eventually adjusted to life in this country town. But I think it was about grade 10. So I'm like 16, maybe 15, 16. And I heard about this school my cousin was going to called the Australian Science and Mathematics School in Adelaide, which is 9 hours away, the closest capital city. And it sounded awesome. This kind of school that they cared, you know, a bunch about academia, especially science and maths, and sort of, you know, how those could create pathways to higher learning in university and stuff. And I was kind of sick of pretending like I didn't care about school to try and fit in with everybody else in this country town. So I left. I drove my beat up old car to Adelaide. Well, not really. It didn't actually make it all the way to Adelaide. We got stuck in a town called Port Pirie halfway there, but that's beside the point. I eventually got to Adelaide and my grandparents lived in Adelaide, as did my cousin. So I actually ended up moving into this small office at the back of my grandparents' house that my grandfather was using. He was a shoemaker and that's where he would take all his consultations. And yeah, I started going to this school, Australian Science and Mathematics School, or ASMS for short, with my cousin. And I loved it. It was awesome. People cared about learning there. It was just the right place for me. As much as it was great that we cared about our studies at this school, that's also where I got into some gaming. Obviously, pretty tech savvy school. So we'd have our laptops in break or sometimes during lessons playing Halo Deathmatch or playing Call of Duty 4. And that's where I actually got into competitive games. My interest for Call of Duty 4 and team shooters was sort of sparked. So on the side, I started to play a lot more and started to improve and practice and find a team. So I graduated from this science and math school and it sort of gave me a passion for learning more about, you know, those sort of topics. So I ended up going into an engineering degree at university. So yeah, it was off to university. I'd managed to get into the aerospace engineering program at the University of Adelaide. And on the side, I was working collecting trolleys at a mall and ended up making my way into the fine wine department at one of the liquor stores there when I was 18. So I'm going to university, I'm working at this fine wine store, and I'm playing a lot of COD 4. I found a team of, you know, guys from around Australia, and we were screaming and we were playing league matches online and we were taking it pretty seriously. So yeah, a lot of hours of Call of Duty 4, definitely put in the work, about 3,000 hours of COD 4 multiplayer with my team, and it paid off. I got a bit better and I actually ended up winning a LAN. So university starts to ramp up because you can't really just mail it in with an engineering degree, especially not in your first couple of years. And I realized I didn't have the time to scrim like 40 hours a week or, you know, 8 hours a night of Call of Duty 4 to try and improve and maybe win $500 at a LAN. So I started doing these online radio casts for Call of Duty. There was like a website called Netgame Radio in Australia at the time, and they would do coverage of those same Call of Duty 4 league matches that I was playing in. So I said, I'll give this a try because I can still stay involved in the scene. I can still stay up to date with what's going on with the games, and I can contribute in a way different to before, whilst also being able to not fail horribly at university. So eventually this thing sort of evolves into, you know, getting the footage up on YouTube and there being a video component to it, not unlike sort of every traditional esports broadcast you see on Twitch, for example. And this was happening all over the world at the time. But when I first started, I had no idea that it would sort of evolve into this. It was just a side hobby. So I graduated university with honors. So I was really excited about that and thought I'd step into a great career. And then I realized there weren't really any opportunities for aeronautical engineers in Australia. I'd kind of graduated university, but it felt empty. I did my internship, mostly working on an oil refinery, looking at pipes and building stairways, and none of it excited me. It wasn't really what I was promised when I went off to university to learn about planes and rockets and such. So there weren't any real jobs in the field that I wanted to work in Australia. So I started to struggle to sort of find anything. So on the side, as this gaming stuff is starting to pop off a little bit more, I'm getting offers to go to like a PAX in Australia, or like a gaming convention and host a booth for wargaming who do World of Tanks. I would be the guy that tries to get people in to play the game and run events over the course of a weekend. During this time, I'm working as a storeman and a dispensary technician at a discount chemist, because I couldn't really find any engineering jobs that grabbed me in a big way. And I was kind of just treading water at what you would call a CVS here in America. Luckily on the side, the gaming jobs start to really turn into some big opportunities. And I'm traveling to Europe every now and then to host the World of Tanks sort of league finals. And eventually I get scouted from ESL. They say, hey, you know, do you want to come and live in Germany and cast World of Tanks full time? You know, obviously I said yes. You know, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was a chance to live in a different country and work in esports, something that I was rapidly beginning to realize might actually be a legitimate job opportunity, a career for me down the line. So there it is. That's kind of the story about how I managed to get to where I am as an esports commentator and what led me into this job in general. Glad to have the chance to ask the question, and if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Also, congratulations for sticking with this rollicking tale of my background. And if you are still here, I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel, because I'm hoping to produce more videos like this in the future, as well as leaving maybe a like on the video. And hey, in the comments, if you have other questions you want to hear me answer, I'd love to include them in future Q&A videos. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.